Hello everyone, welcome back to CAMNES Studio. Today we have a special episode dedicated to a very particular, interesting question that came through our email, our dedicated email, ask@camnes.org. So if you have any type of question, no problem, send them through, ask us anything regarding antiquity, ancient studies, archaeology, anthropology. We will be very happy to reply. Hopefully on video, it depends. Otherwise, just very rapidly by email. But we're considering everyone, okay? We're not ignoring anybody. So let's jump into what came through to our recent, in these last days, question. Very interesting question from a former soldier, from what I understand, a U.S. soldier of the Navy, of the submarine force. A 43-year-old man who is asking, basically, he gave us a little bit of his background, who is asking if it makes sense, afterwards I'm going to read his questions, to all of a sudden change his life and dedicate it to archaeology. From an ethnographic point of view, considering how old he is, starting a career, and also from a work perspective. What perspective does he have? What can archaeology offer him today? Now, clearly, I am going to try to answer this based on my knowledge regarding a little bit the general situation. Because clearly in Italy, where we are based, in the US, in other places in Europe, in the world, things change a lot sometimes. But since we are in contact with a lot of people, as you can imagine, researchers, professors, archaeologists, students, we know more or less how are things actually, especially for this Western, let's say, Western civilization context. Okay, I'll read his questions and then I'll try to answer them. Question number 1. Is it realistic for someone my age, 43, to get into the field of archaeology? Let's say I study hard and grasp what I need to grasp. Will I find work? Very good question. I'm older now, and I want to be okay when I'm elderly, financially and just in general. Reasonably. I don't want to be homeless because I bet all my chips on something I'm possibly not marketable for, or even that there's not a lot of hireable work for. Do I stand a slim chance with my age? Or in general, is there a plentiful job market for the field where hopeful students won't be met with disillusionment? Okay, a lot of questions actually, but this is the first batch. Let's say that I'm not against age. I mean, if you are determined, if you really are determined, and ex-soldier is probably is, then you're already halfway, okay? Because you can achieve undoubtedly, unquestionably, some results, meaning a degree. Now, if you want to remain in the archaeology domain, usually you should have a BA, an MA, and also a PhD. PhD usually is used for an academic career, and usually an academic career is what is along the archaeological route, the archaeological career in general. Not necessarily, though. Not necessarily. A lot of people can go down the path of a technical type of archaeology, meaning that he's just giving his knowledge from a technical point of view. Excavation, documentation, that part. So no academia, no teaching, no lessons, no research also, because rarely you're going to dedicate. And I think you're losing a lot of the fun, even though there are those trowel guys just dedicated to that. And they get big work, big-time jobs sometimes. It depends. Also here in Italy. I mean, if you're good and if you get inside the flow, you're going to have huge commissions, huge jobs where a lot of money is going around. Not everyone. It's difficult. You have to earn the, let's say, the trust of the public, because in Italy we move a lot on public, in Europe in general, meaning the state, the government, the superintendency. But in America, it is different, even though you don't have that much public commissions. Usually, I mean, the classic situation is that an archaeologist is called because they're building a new structure, and they find some remains which have to be documented, and then that's also a path that an archaeologist can go down, can follow. Absolutely. That we're talking in terms of types of jobs that a background in archaeology can furnish. Very difficult. But he is also asking actually his age clearly, and I think there's no problem there, even though you must consider these steps, BA, MA, PhD. It's a little long. You can stop probably at an MA if you want to keep things a little more technical and less academic. If you want to be a professor, if you want to teach, if you want to be part of an academic staff, you have to go with a PhD, even though there are clearly PhDs with which are financed by or there are scholarships in general by the university. So that also could be something worthwhile to explore. When you're 43, maybe that's not going to be enough for your lifestyle, let's say. So you have to keep things in mind. As you can see, there is not one clear answer. In any case, I will try to recap everything. Let's proceed now to his second question, second part of the question. If it couldn't be out in the field, and that was hypothetically unrealistic, would I then have plenty of opportunities to get hired as a teacher/professor? If there are other branches in the field, what is in need of people? Very good question, which is strictly connected to the first one. Well, it's very difficult to find a job as a professor, okay? Also because I explained this in other videos I did. You really have to be part of a school, a department, a strong department where another professor is pushing you, okay? Is preparing you. You're a part of an archaeological project or more projects present in that university, in that department, then you're starting to be useful to them, and hence there is going to be help from that point of view. If you're just a newbie coming around, it is going to be very difficult to find a position, meaning to be an assistant professor and then a full professor if you're lucky enough, or even good enough, we could say, meaning the top of the verdicts, of the academic verdicts, full professor, which also have a very good economic situation, as you can imagine. But these positions are hard to achieve. I mean, there are dozens of archaeologists that go around and wait their turn. So I cannot recommend this path. Actually, if I really have to be grounded, realistic with my comments, there is not that much room for archaeologists, unfortunately. The supply is way higher than the demand, okay? That should already set the picture, unfortunately. Nevertheless, if you are good, and this is the typical America, US dream, then you can climb the ladder and reach a good position. But it's not only a matter of capabilities, of skills, of training, of hard work. Also, that is the most important of all. But then you also have to be, I'm sorry, this is the truth. You have to be in the right place at the right time and know the right people. Especially if we're talking about academia and research, okay? Which, as I said, I mean, research is the most important part, I think, the most interesting part of archaeology. Or as we said before in the prior part of this video, you can just focus on the technical aspects. But since he's asking the economic situation also of the different types of jobs, this is going to be more difficult to make it, to transform it in a stable job and get a good living out of it, okay? More easy maybe actually in Europe. There are a lot more situations where that you can climb in. In the US, it's a little more difficult, but feasible, absolutely feasible. I would not recommend it there. Straightforward, I would not recommend it. Sorry to say. Let's see his third part of the question. Lastly, is with school. Okay, I know people have to choose a specialty, a specialization, but I'm fuzzy on where to start with school. Is the path I start with a generic across-the-board archaeology bachelor's and then the specializing comes with grad school? Or do I find a school with my particular choosing specialty? Well, I think I've already answered actually to this. Yes, you have to find, first of all, which type of archaeology you're interested in. Because, I mean, maybe you're interested in classics, ancient Egypt, the Near East, Paleolithic, underwater. There's so many. I mean, you have to get your mind set on something. A precise idea, a precise project, something that you are deeply interested in, and then pursue that, follow that. And yes, it's going to be a BA, as I said, an MA or MS, it depends, and things like that. And I think also in order of credibility, a PhD is required, meaning a lot of years, guys, a lot of years of study. And if you're starting at 43, that means investing and not having income for at least, I would say, 10 years, maybe less if you're really, really fast and really, really good, could be. But I would say an average of 10 years, considering all three the degrees, unfortunately. So probably not the ideal solution if you are over 35, 40 years of age, unfortunately. But you never know, okay? You never know. Maybe you find the right situation in the university where you very fastly are involved in a project while you're studying and bringing things ahead together. There's so many cases and so many situations. So I am trying to express my ideas, but it's very hard to say it's going to be like this. No, you never know how it's going to be, clearly. But this is more or less the general framework of these opportunities of this type of studies. Unfortunately, yes, probably unfortunately, especially if you're a little, as we said, over the hill. No, not over the hill. I'm 45, and just a few days ago I turned 45, so I don't consider myself over the hill, but it's very late to start something like this. I think that if you're all of a sudden archaeology is your life, or you did not have an opportunity up until now because you had to do other things, that can happen. There is space, there is room. You can find a different perspective, like for example, public archaeology. Communicate with the public, find a different dimension, throw yourself on the technical aspects, be the greatest archaeologist you can from a technical point of view, meaning knowing how to deal with specific strata, the matrix, and all the different things, recording. There's also landscape archaeology where you can do surveys and understand where sites were and how the different features in the landscape function between them. There's so many branches, okay, in archaeology. So that's why it's also very important to understand in which direction, okay? Archaeology doesn't mean anything. You really have to know which direction, which can be a civilization or a culture, as we said, or a specific approach to it, a technical approach. Maybe, for example, I'm sure that who does underwater archaeology is greatly requested because there aren't that many people doing that, for example. But you got to know how to deal with that part. Going underwater, you have to be a sub. It's not that easy, clearly. I hope I've answered these different questions, because I think a lot of people may have this type of approach. I don't want to demolish your hopes, your feelings, absolutely, but I do want to say how the situation is. Not easy. But once again, if you are really determined, you're probably going to find your little space up there. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time. It can't happen in 2 or 3 years. No. Okay, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. As I said, please send your other comments or especially requests, if you want, to our email. Once again, ask@camnes.org. And what else can I say? Understanding the past explains the present and defines our future. Thank you. Bye. Hi, guys. If you want to discover more about archaeology and our ancient past from a different perspective, make sure to click on the CAMNES logo here below. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you will never miss an episode and join the archaeological community in search of the truth.